Vinland Saga is a fucking masterpiece.
Ah, tight, tight, tight.
And if I'm going to be honest, that's not the expectation I went with when I decided to watch it. I was honestly just expecting it to be another random action anime, but boy oh boy, was I wrong. Because when I watched it, and I walked out after reading the manga, I realized how anime and manga can paint a realistic view of the wars and the trauma it takes. It just shows how much revenge can change a person. And I think some of the reason why is because the author references a lot of his characters from real life historic characters, like Thorfinn or Thorkel. Which also shows why amazing mangas like One Piece have this amazing storytelling. It's because of this added layer of realness into it. Vinland Saga explains the life of a warrior throughout Thorfinn's eyes, and it shows us how he sees the world. The good and the bad of it. I honestly think that Vinland Saga has some of the most amazing world and character building in anime. It's just so amazing when the author introduces a new character and builds this whole new story around them, giving you a character that you absolutely despise, and you end up liking them, or changing a whole character's personality. And the cool thing is, you get to see them throughout that whole journey, and the author makes sure to show you how hard it is for a person to change, and the emptiness that follows them throughout that whole change, and showing you that the past never forgets, and how empty your life gets when you don't have a path or a goal to follow. The story simply follows our boy Thorfinn, who's the son of Thors, a strong warrior and a leader, who got tired of wars and decided to retire with his wife and family by faking his own death, only to get brought back 10 years later to it. You see, the Viking got wind of him being alive in Iceland, living happily with his family, so they went there to recruit soldiers, but mainly him. So he goes with a couple of the village men, and Thorfinn sneaks with them secretly to go with his father. The only problem is that Floki only recruited him to get him killed, because he wanted to rank up and be a leader himself. Because he knew he couldn't beat Thor's on a 1v1 battle, so he recruited a bandit leaded by Askeladd to kill him. We see this battle from the eyes of Thorfinn, who watches his dad defeating the whole bandit and challenging Askeladd to a duel, which he wins, only to get killed because they caught his son. So he agrees to exchange his life so that they can release Thorfinn and leave the village man alone. Thorfinn changes simply because of revenge, and the reason being Askeladd, which is the character that killed Thorfinn's father, because he didn't honor the duel rules. Thors makes sure to tell Thorfinn before he dies to not chase revenge, and live a peaceful life without enemies. And it's so frustrating to watch Thorfinn change because he's angry that Askeladd didn't honor the duel, and him knowing fully well that Thor's father could have killed him if he wanted to. We see Thorfinn changing from this kid who was cheerful to a ruthless animal chasing revenge, and not having anything else on his mind. The only problem is, every time he challenges Askeladd to a duel, he loses his mind and gets clouded by anger, ending up him losing the fight every time. I mean, this kid was a freaking Levi going against grown soldiers and armies like nothing, in exchange to defeat Askeladd in a duel. While Askeladd did use Thorfinn for his purposes, he actually kind of cared about him, lecturing him about wars and counting on him more than his own man sometimes, even at his last moment, telling him to follow the true warrior's path, which I'm going to get to in a minute. The story has a really nice unexpected flow, shifting between the warrior's perspective and how the king's orders soldier around. The first season ended up with a handcliff and a shocking twist. One of the most interesting fights that happens in the first season is between Thorfinn and Thorkel. You see, Thorkel's like the Hulk, he loves fighting and wars, and when Thorfinn sees that he might actually kill Askeladd, he decides to take him head on despite the winning percentage being at 0%. Even Askeladd was like, "Bruh." But it just shows how Thorfinn was ready to take on anyone in order to have the duel he wants against Askeladd. It just shows how focused he is on his goal. That's why it hit him hard when Askeladd got killed, leaving him empty, now that the guy who killed his father is dead, and he can't avenge him anymore, so he becomes empty. The next season focuses on how much someone can suffer if he doesn't have an ambition or a goal to chase behind. It embodies the emptiness of Thorfinn after he lost Askeladd, after he chased behind him his whole young life. What I really liked is how Einar came in and rescued him from his emptiness. You see, Einar lost his family in war, that's why he despises it. And also he never been into war himself. That's why it was interesting to see both of them interact and become best friends despite their differences. Einar shows Thorfinn that life is not over yet and there is so much to look after to. It's just so good to see how characters impact each other in Vinland Saga. If there is another aspect that I adored about Vinland Saga is the idea of what is a true warrior. We see that at first when he abandoned his sword and told his son that there is no enemies for him, and he doesn't need a sword to defend himself. And the fact that Thorfinn follows in his father's step and grows as a person, and not only embodying the true warrior ideology, but also surpassing his father in that and have a goal to go to, his dream place, Vinland. A place that most people think is fake, a place where there is no war or weapons is needed. A place where all the true warriors can live peacefully together. What I also loved about Vinland Saga is the fact that the author makes sure to give proper character development to each previous character. For example, we see King Canute, who was just a whiny kid. We see his character change from a kid to a leader, and it doesn't happen instantly. It slowly plays through, and we see him learning from previous mistakes. For example, we see him training because he doesn't want to fall in the same mistake that his father had, where he couldn't defend himself, and therefore got killed even though he had an army around him. He wanted to be able to defend himself so that the past doesn't repeat itself, and we see that preparation paying off, because King Canute knows that some people will sneak up on him, so not always he will have protection. And what's also interesting is how his character development plays off. We see him as a kid who didn't want to hurt anyone and was really shy, taking on absurd decisions to the point where he poisoned his own brother to rule the kingdom. It just shows how obsession can change a person when he chases a goal. Vinland Saga is the type of manga that introduces a character that you think to yourself, oh, that's just a random character, but the story does a great job of showing you just how important they are. Not only that, but you start thinking to yourself, was that character there from the beginning? But so far in the manga, my favorite character is Askeladd. He's just the most interesting character there. His influence on Thorfinn and Canute is there even after he died. Askeladd is just unpredictable. At first, when he got introduced, we hated him, but as the story went on, we just started to like him. You never know if he's actually a good guy or a bad guy until the end of his life, where you find out why he became like that, and what he told Thors was actually true. He has been searching for a true warrior to serve him, because that was his mother's advice to him. That's why at the end of his last breath, he tells Thorfinn to become a true warrior, and on Canute's side, to become the king he was so afraid to become. Thorfinn's character by far has the most character-changing moments in the manga, because he starts as a kid who seeks revenge, to an empty person, and then he goes on his way to become a true warrior that doesn't have any enemies. Vinland Saga is a manga rich with big history, action, and amazing world building and characters. So if you enjoy that, then I highly recommend you to watch it or read it. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I have been the Manga Viewer, and I'll see you all next time. Matane!